situation that has been bubbling for the last several weeks. DK Metcalf, as colleague Tom Pelissero and I reported this morning, has requested a trade from Seattle.
DK Metcalf, one of the best receivers in the NFL, has officially requested a trade from the Seattle Seahawks after spending 6 seasons with the team. The two sides over the past 2 weeks have had discussions about him and his future and what the team is going to be doing in the future, and he ultimately decided to request a trade from the team, and the Seahawks are granting him permission to do so, and they're going to be looking for a trade partner for their star wide receiver. This trade request, however, was not the only big news of the day for the organization and their fans. Fan favorite and longtime Seattle Seahawk legend wide receiver Tyler Lockett was released by the team as well. It's been a busy day for the Seattle Seahawks, who may be trading away their best player or one of their best players away very soon. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. We're trying to hit 10K in 2025. 72% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed. Double check, it's free. Helps me and the channel out a lot. Like this video, and let's talk about this DK Metcalf trade request. DK Metcalf was a 2nd round pick by the Seattle Seahawks back in the 2019 NFL draft. And over the past 6 seasons with the team, he's made 2 Pro Bowls and has had at least 900 yards or more in each season he's been in the NFL. In 2024, DK Metcalf had 66 catches for 992 yards with 5 touchdowns, which was his least productive season in the NFL since 2021. The lack of production from DK Metcalf, though, was not fully his fault, and it was not due to him being a bad player or declining or not being as good of a player as some may think. I think it was more of the situation he was in. After hiring their head coach Mike Macdonald last offseason, he brought in offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb to be his offensive play caller, but after 1 year as an NFL play caller, he was fired the day after the season ended for the Seahawks when the team went 10-7. The Seahawks' overall offense ranked 21st in points per game, 14th in total offense, 8th in passing yards, but the run game was ranked horribly, and this is where the difference of opinions came from the head coach and the offensive coordinator. The Seattle Seahawks ranked 28th in rushing yards per game, and head coach Mike Macdonald felt the offense was going in a different direction than what he had wanted and envisioned when he was first hired as the team's head coach. So he felt like a change was needed for the team, and I'm assuming he wanted a more run-heavy, more balanced offense than the 28th overall rushing offense with the 8th overall passing offense. I'm assuming he wanted more balance between the two sides and not just one-dimensional, wanted to get more guys involved and get their guys into better situations to have success. And if it was in Mike Macdonald's vision to be a more run-heavy offense, it made sense why the team hired former Saints offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak to be their new offensive play caller. I'm a Saints fan. I just experienced Clint Kubiak firsthand. I'll say this about him. He's a good offensive coordinator. I think he's good at what he does. He's definitely, in that middle range of offensive coordinators. With the Saints, he got dealt a bad hand. The Saints roster was just plagued with injuries, and even before the injuries, they weren't that talented of a team in general. Something that he does struggle with is making second half adjustments, but when it comes to the basic system and scheme of what he does, it's exactly what Mike Macdonald, I'm assuming, is wanting for his offense. It is a very run-heavy, run-first oriented system, to the point where it gets annoying, to the point where you will see the same type of running play get called 3 times in a game, and it won't work each time, and you'll be confused why he keeps doing it, but when it does work, you think he's a genius. But he is a very run-first oriented guy, and I'm assuming that's the system that Mike Macdonald wanted to be installed into his offensive system for his team. What's awkward, though, is once Clint Kubiak was hired as the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator, and during their press conference, head coach Mike Macdonald said Kubiak had the best vision for DK Metcalf during the process. You pull up this article, Mike Macdonald. New Seahawks OC Clint Kubiak had best vision for DK Metcalf in hiring process. Answers on Tyler Lockett to come. You scroll down here. I'll tell you this, we talked. Every candidate had an idea of how we're going to use DK, definitely at the top of their mind. It's great to hear different visions throughout the league of how guys saw him. I think Clint had the best vision out of all those guys. And this is where it gets awkward because DK Metcalf today officially requested a trade. Star wide receiver DK Metcalf has requested a trade from Seattle, and the team has decided to explore it. Per Ian Rappaport, there is likely going to be significant interest in Seattle star wide receiver, and both sides will dig into a big-time wide receiver who may be on the move. So it's not like DK Metcalf is requesting a trade and the Seahawks are saying no, kind of like the Myles Garrett trade. He requested a trade. They had some conversations and discussions the past 2 weeks, and both sides are going to be exploring a trade. DK Metcalf currently has 1 year left on his current contract with the Seattle Seahawks. So some could think like this is a negotiation tactic for the Seattle Seahawks to pay him more money, give him a contract extension, pay him what he believes he wants, top of the market money. And you know, that could be what's happening here, but I honestly think that the two sides are going to be moving on from each other this offseason. And I do not think that that was the intent of DK Metcalf requesting a trade. After winning 10 games in 2024 with the Seahawks, DK Metcalf wants to be traded to a contender and compete for championships as opposed to staying in the same 9 to 10 win bubble every year with the Seattle Seahawks. Now, some teams that make some sense to trade for DK Metcalf who are contenders and fit that category are the Green Bay Packers, who were rumored to call about DK Metcalf in a trade as of recently. The Baltimore Ravens could be an option. They're a contending team that could use a wide receiver. The Buffalo Bills are in that same category. Hell, even maybe the Kansas City Chiefs could make a call, but let's just hope that doesn't happen. There's also teams like the Chargers and the Texans, maybe the Dallas Cowboys, teams that aren't full-on contenders, but you know, they've been in the playoffs. And who knows, maybe a team like the Patriots who have all that money, they've been calling about possibly trading for A.J. Brown. Maybe they make the call for DK Metcalf. There's more than just the contenders that are going to be making this call. A lot of teams, good or not, contending or not, are going to be calling about DK Metcalf. I'm curious too if DK Metcalf cares about whether or not how he's going to be utilized or whatever, or if he just wants to win games. And if that's the case, then, you know, the teams I just listed make a lot of sense. But if he cares about being paid, being a contender, and being utilized, like a team like the Ravens might not make sense, and a team like the Buffalo Bills might. However, though, DK Metcalf does not have a no trade clause in his contract. And what that means is he does not have a say in where he gets traded. A few years ago, when the Seattle Seahawks traded Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos, he had a no trade clause and kind of got to dictate where he got traded, and he chose to be traded to the Denver Broncos but declined trades to the Washington Commanders. DK Metcalf does not have a say, so for the Seahawks, if they get an offer from the Patriots, and that offer tops everything else, they're going to trade him to the Patriots unless they're going to give DK Metcalf the due diligence and pay him the respect and trade him to a team that has a good offer and meets the criteria of what DK Metcalf wants as well. Sometimes that does happen, but I don't know if that's going to be the case in this situation. Teams are going to be very interested in DK Metcalf, especially given the weak free agency and draft class at the wide receiver position. He's definitely going to be at the top of the list of guys in the wide receiver market of interest. I mean, outside of Devontae Adams, looking at the free agent list, I mean, Stephon Diggs is cool, but he's coming off an injury. He's 31 years old. Keenan Allen, 32, not the same guy. Amari Cooper, 30, not the same guy. Godwin, good player, but coming off an injury. I mean, the wide receiver free agency market right now is pretty thin, so DK Metcalf becoming available right now is pretty huge for teams looking for a big wide receiver to fit their team. When it comes to this trade, it's just a matter of the trading composition. Does it match what the Seattle Seahawks are looking for? And are they willing to give DK Metcalf the respect of trading him to a contender? That's something, you know, they're going to have to discuss. And for Metcalf, you know, is it a contender? And who's going to give him a contract extension as well as trading for him? There's a lot that goes into this. Now, it is possible he ends up back in Seattle after requesting a trade, but I only see that being the case if the Seattle Seahawks don't get the compensation they want from other teams around the NFL. And if he does end up staying in Seattle, they're going to have to give him an extension that he's looking for. But given the fact that both sides mutually agree to look for a trade and find trade partners, I don't really see a scenario where he's returning, especially without a contract extension. Trading away DK Metcalf will leave the Seattle Seahawks wide receiver room pretty thin. The team also just cut their great franchise legend Tyler Lockett after 10 seasons with the team. And if DK Metcalf is on his way out, that leaves the Seahawks wide receiver room pretty thin. They got Jake Bobo, Jalen Darden, DK Metcalf as of right now. This is their current roster. John Plumlee, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Cody White, and Derek Young. That's a pretty thin wide receiver room, and I don't know too many of these names at all. Jackson Smith-Njigba is a good player who just had a breakout season for the Seattle Seahawks. And in this past year, he totaled 100 catches for 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns. Essentially, you know, he was the number one option for the Seahawks in their wide receiver room this season. But just because the numbers say he was the number one guy, I don't think that means he was the number one guy. And having a complimentary big body guy opposite of him like DK Metcalf definitely helped him have a good season. Jackson Smith-Njigba took to Twitter after this crazy news day of Tyler Lockett getting cut and DK Metcalf requesting a trade. He said, "Ayo, what the fuck?" And I'm sure a lot of Seahawks fans feel the exact same way. And trading away DK Metcalf could definitely hurt Jackson Smith-Njigba's overall stock as a wide receiver. I'm not saying it will, but Devontae Smith for the Eagles is as good as he is because he has AJ Brown on the other side helping him out, complementing his game. Chris Olave for the Saints is being held back because he doesn't have a big body guy to complement his style of game. So the Seahawks, if they do get rid of DK Metcalf, will have to add some help at the wide receiver room this offseason, a big body guy to complement Jackson Smith-Njigba's game. His style of play is going to change drastically, and I'll just say this, a lot of people were upset with Chris Olave's usage as the #1 guy under Clint Kubiak, and if that isn't addressed, he could be in the same boat for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, it wasn't like DK Metcalf is as good as AJ Brown, and he's not even the best, contested catch physical guy in the NFL. The dude is 6'4", 235, and he only caught 36% of his contested targets last season. Maybe try and draft a physical pass catcher who does more contested catches better than DK Metcalf. DK should be doing better in terms of a contested catch target percentage, but maybe that's just not his style of game. But for his size, he should be doing better. And I think generally he could and should be doing better as a player in the NFL, but maybe going to a new team will benefit him and allow him to reach new levels of his NFL career. Let me know down in the comments below where you think DK Metcalf is going to be traded this offseason, or does he end up back in Seattle? Let me know down in the comments below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you next time. Have a good one. Peace.